Saturday morning, June 16th, 1990. The small Welsh town of Llangollen was already bustling with shoppers and tourists enjoying the summer sunshine. For 52-year-old Trevaline Evans, it started like any other day at her beloved antiques shop. She'd arrived early, parking her dark blue Ford Escort estate 200 yards away from Attic Antiques on Church Street, opening at the usual time of 9:30 a.m. Trevaline had always been a collector. She'd been a collector as a hobby her entire life, so opening the shop was a lifelong dream for her. Just a year earlier, in 1989, she'd finally made that dream a reality, transforming her passion into a business that quickly became a gathering place for locals and tourists alike. She was known to buy from locals, dealers, and people passing through town. That morning, everything seemed perfectly normal. Approximately 25 guests had either called or visited the shop that morning, and Trevaline appeared happy and relaxed, and had even made plans to go out to a party that night with a friend. She chatted with customers, arranged displays, and went about her usual routine. Nobody could have imagined that within hours she would vanish without a trace, leaving behind one of Wales' most baffling mysteries. Trevaline's life seemed picturesque, a devoted wife to Richard Evans and a loving mother to their son, also named Richard. The couple had been married for 30 years and were planning their retirement. They'd recently bought a holiday bungalow in Llangollen, a coastal town approximately an hour away, where they intended to spend their golden years. During the week of June 11th, Trevaline and Richard were up in Llangollen working on their bungalow. Richard remembers Trevaline as happy while renovating and working in the garden before she returned to Llangollen on Wednesday. But beneath the surface of this seemingly content life, there were whispers. However, beneath the surface of apparent happiness, complexities emerged. Later, when investigators would dig deeper, questions would arise about the true state of the Evans marriage. The days leading up to Trevaline's disappearance held their own mysteries. On Thursday, June 14th at 9:15 a.m., a local housewife was passing the antique shop and noticed Trevaline outside talking to two men, one older and one younger. The next day, the older of the two men was seen with Trevaline again. Witnesses described him as distinguished-looking and very well-dressed. He was wearing a navy blue suit and carrying a black briefcase. That Friday evening presented another puzzling scene. A couple driving down Castle Street noticed Trevaline standing in the doorway of a cafe with a piece of paper in her hand. It appeared to them that she was looking for someone, as she kept coming in and out of the doorway and looking down the street. What was she searching for? Who was she hoping to find? The morning of June 16th arrived bright and sunny. It was a sunny day, and the town centre was bustling with people. Trevaline went through her normal routine, greeting customers with her usual warmth. Around 12:40 p.m., something changed. Trevaline was seen talking to a well-dressed man inside the store, and shortly afterward, Evans left a note on the front door of her shop, saying she would be back in 2 minutes. Those 2 minutes would stretch into eternity. It is known that she bought an apple and a banana from a nearby shop and was seen crossing nearby Castle Street. As a banana skin was found in a dustbin in the shop after this time, it is thought she must have returned there, but this has never been definitively proven. What is certain is that Evans's handbag, car keys and jacket, along with fruit and flowers that she had intended to take home, were left behind in the shop. The last confirmed sighting of Evans was near her home on Market Street at 2:30 p.m. After that, the trail goes cold, though there were unconfirmed sightings. At 2:35 p.m., a woman matching her description was seen walking out of town along the A5 towards Corwin, beside the Riverside Park. At 3:45 p.m., there was another sighting, this time of a woman walking into Park Avenue from the direction of the River Dee just before 6 p.m. A woman driving along Church Street noticed a man standing outside Attic Antiques. Although she could Not be certain, she thought she saw the shop door open. Who was this man? Was he waiting for Trevaline to return? Richard was away from home at the time, renovating their holiday bungalow in Llangollen, approximately 40 miles away. As evening fell, he began trying to reach his wife. On the evening of June 16, 1990, Evans tried in vain to contact his wife by telephone at their home, and after having received no reply on several occasions, he grew increasingly worried. He called friends, asking them to check on her. When the friend called back and told Richard that Trevaline was not at home, he became very worried and asked if the search could be extended to attic antiques. After the person said they couldn't find Trevaline in the shop, the police were contacted. By 11 p.m., Richard had reported his wife missing, setting in motion one of the most extensive missing person investigations in Welsh history. The response was immediate and thorough. Every household in Llangollen, as well as scores of people from further afield, were interviewed. More than 1,500 names were checked, and about 700 cars were eliminated from the inquiry. Searches of the River Dee, the canal, mine shafts and caves in the Llangollen area were carried out, but no trace was found. An artist's impression of a man in a blazer apparently seen in her company was drawn up and circulated during the investigation. In 1990, this mysterious, well-dressed man, who had been seen in her shop just before she left, became a focus of the investigation, but despite extensive publicity, he was never identified or traced. The case would be featured on BBC's Crime Watch, with dramatic reconstructions hoping to jog someone's memory. But as days turned to weeks and weeks to months, hope began to fade. No money was ever taken from her bank account, indicating to police that she may have been abducted and murdered. Speaking to the leader in 1992, Date Chief Inspector Colin Edwards, who was heading the continuing investigation into the disappearance, said, "It is without doubt the strangest inquiry I have ever been involved with. How a happily married woman could vanish without trace on a sunny Saturday morning in a busy town centre is totally baffling." As the investigation continued, strange leads emerged. In 1992, woodland in the World's End area was searched after a tip-off from someone claiming to be a spiritualist medium. In 1993, police sniffer dogs searched a canal bank near Llangollen after a woman wrote to police stating that she had been overwhelmed by a feeling that Trevaline was nearby. Neither search yielded any results. Apparent sightings of Evans have been reported in London, France, with Interpol investigating the assumed sighting there, and a remote town in Australia. Each report was investigated, each hope dashed. The woman from Llangollen had seemingly vanished into thin air. She was not declared as legally dead until 1997, 7 years after her disappearance. But for her family, the torment continued. Her son Richard Jr., who had followed in his father's footsteps to become a police sergeant, died from a heart attack in his late 30s in 1999. He never learned what happened to his mother. After her disappearance, she became a grandmother. But Trevaline's only child, Police Sergeant Richard Evans, died of a heart attack in 1999 in his late 30s. In January 2001, the case was reopened by police in the hope new forensic techniques would suggest fresh evidence. Evans's husband Richard was arrested in June 2001, but later released without charge. He had a rock-solid alibi in that he was miles away at the couple's holiday bungalow, and several witnesses confirmed that they had seen him there on the day in question. But the arrest had stirred up old rumors and speculation. Some began to question the state of the Evans marriage. Years later, when a documentary would examine the case, a friend of the Evans family, Linda, who met and started a 5-year relationship with Trevaline's brother Philip 2 days after. She went missing, says she wasn't in a happy marriage. Linda would make troubling claims. He never told me how much he loved her. He never said, "Oh, Lynn, you don't realize how much I miss her." Nothing. She claims Phil told her one night he'd seen carpets and furniture being carried out of Trevaline and Richard's home. If he's waiting for her to come home, she's not going to be happy, is she? That the furniture's coming out the house? Linda asks. But these were just rumors, unsubstantiated claims that added to the mystery without providing answers. The case was re-examined in 2010 on the 20th anniversary of Evans's disappearance. This time, a potential connection to a serial killer emerged. In September 2011, it was reported that police were looking into a possible connection between Evans's disappearance and a convicted serial killer named Robin Legas. Legas served a life sentence for the murders of 3 men in 1994 and died in 2022. The connection seemed promising. North Wales police linked Legas, who murdered 3 victims in Shrewsbury, one of which was an antiques dealer, to Trevaline's case in 2011, but police ruled out any connection in January 2012. Rumours began circling the town that Trevaline had relationships with other men, one of whom left her an inheritance sum of £10,000. But these too remained unverified, part of the swirl of speculation that surrounds any unsolved disappearance. Evans passed away in 2014 at the age of 83. Actually, other sources say he died in 2015, but regardless, Richard passed away not knowing what has happened to his wife, as Trevaline's younger brother Len Davies put it. The man who had been both suspect and grieving husband died with the mystery unsolved. But the story of Trevaline Evans was far from over. In 2019, nearly 3 decades after her disappearance, the case would take its strangest turn yet. In 2019, 2 brothers, Andy and Lee Sutton, suddenly came forward to the police saying that they believed that Trevaline had been murdered and her body buried under the floor of Rudland Golf Club. Andy Sutton, who is from Wrexham, is a former chief auditor for Flintshire Council and told the media he and his brother Lee, who is from Kinmel Bay, had overheard information in February 2019 which seemed to indicate Trevaline Evans had been murdered and her remains buried in Rudland. The brothers didn't just pass this information to police, they took action themselves. The brothers then visited the golf club and claimed they were given permission to inspect the underfloor using an inspection camera. What they claimed to see would reignite the entire investigation. According to them, their camera showed what appeared to be human remains beneath the floorboards. Acting on this confidential tip, in March 2019, police searched Rudland Golf Club in a bid to locate Trevaline's remains. At 11 a.m. on Tuesday the 19th of March, police began digging at the Rudland site under the supervision of North Wales DS Tony Underhill, and the forensic officers used infrared equipment to X-ray the floor of the bar area of the club. Once this was completed, an officer remained at the site overnight. But the search yielded nothing. DS Underhill later told the reporters, "We received information suggesting the remains of a body may have been under the floor of Rudland Golf Club. Having investigated these claims, we are satisfied that this is not the case. Our inquiries at this location are now completed. I'd like to thank the club for their cooperation. The Sutton brothers were not satisfied. They believed something had happened between their inspection and the police search. We have no axe to grind in this at all, but we know what we saw, and what we saw had been removed by the time the police went to the golf club," said Andrew. As a result of this incident, North Wales Police referred the incident to the Independent Office for Police Conduct, IOPC, after the brothers complained about police handling of their information. Then things took an even more bizarre turn. Mysterious plaques began appearing on benches in the area. The inscription reads, "In memory of Trevaline Evans, vanished the 16th of June 1990, found Llangollen GC the 14th of March 2019, removed the 19th of March 2019 RIP." The dates were chilling. They suggested Trevaline had been found at the golf club on March 14th, 2019, when the Suttons did their inspection, and removed on March 19th, 2019, when police conducted their search. But this wasn't the only plaque. The plaque, attached to a wooden bench at Llangollen, on the hills above Prestatyn, makes reference to another hypothesis. The inscription scrawled on the plaque reads, "Justice awaits those responsible for the removal and disposal of Trevaline Evans, in this life or next, from Llangollen Golf Club on March 19th, 2019 at noon. Neither of them has any idea who is responsible for the plaques or why they have been placed in such unexpected locations. But the appearance of the plaques had consequences. Since revealing their findings, a window in Andrew's house has been smashed and Lee has received threatening phone calls." Andrew added, "Clearly, someone is uncomfortable with what happened." The brothers have been told that a vigil was held on the walkway last year before the plaque was removed, but don't know who attended or organized it. Who was leaving these messages? Who held the vigil? And most importantly, what did they know? The case attracted renewed media attention. Evans' disappearance was the subject of a 2021 Crime Plus investigation podcast. The episode, titled "The Disappearance of Trevaline Evans, North Wales," was published as a part of the podcast series spin-off to the documentary show Murder Town. Channel 4 would also examine the case in their series In the Footsteps of Killers, with actress Emilia Fox investigating the mystery. Throughout all of this, Trevaline's younger brother, Len Davies, is still hopeful that one day the truth about his sister's disappearance will come to light. In interviews, he speaks of a pain that never goes away, a question that haunts every family gathering, every birthday, every Christmas. Where is Trevaline? The theories about what happened to Trevaline Evans are numerous. Some believe she planned her own disappearance, starting a new life somewhere far from Llangollen. The reported sightings in Australia, France, and London fuel this theory, but those who knew her find this hard to believe. She was a grandmother, deeply rooted in her community, with a business she loved. And crucially, she never touched her bank accounts after that day. Others suspect she was the victim of a crime of opportunity. Perhaps the well-dressed man seen in her shop was a con artist, or worse. The fact that she left her handbag and keys behind suggests she intended to return quickly. Did someone intercept her during those missing 2 minutes? The rumors about her marriage add another layer of complexity. Was Trevaline unhappy enough to leave? Or could her husband, despite his alibi, have been involved somehow? The furniture being removed from their home, if true, suggests preparation for something. But for what? The Llangollen Golf Club theory, promoted by the Sutton brothers, represents perhaps the most specific claim about Trevaline's fate. But without evidence, it remains just another theory in a case full of them. What makes Trevaline's disappearance so haunting is its ordinariness turned extraordinary. A woman steps out of her shop on a busy Saturday afternoon in a small town, where everyone knows everyone. She buys some fruit, she's seen by multiple witnesses, and then nothing. Detective Chief Inspector Colin Edwards aptly described the case as the strangest inquiry, echoing the sentiments of a community haunted by uncertainty. In the years since, Llangollen has changed. The antique shop has long since closed. The people who saw Trevaline that day have aged, some have died. But the mystery remains, as fresh and puzzling as it was on that sunny Saturday in 1990. Somewhere, perhaps, someone knows what happened to Trevaline Evans. They've kept that secret for over 3 decades. The appearance of the mysterious plaques suggests that secrets don't always stay buried. Someone, for reasons unknown, wanted the world to know about Rudland Golf Club, about March 19th, 2019, about justice awaiting. Were they the ravings of a conspiracy theorist, the desperate act of someone who knows the truth, or something else entirely? For the people of Llangollen, Trevaline's disappearance is more than just an unsolved case. It's a reminder of how fragile our daily lives are, how quickly someone can step out of the normal world and into mystery. Every shop owner who puts up a "back in 5 minutes" sign, every person who pops out for a quick errand, carries with them the ghost of Trevaline Evans. Her story resonates because it could happen to anyone. We all have routines, patterns, predictable behaviors. We all assume we'll complete our errands and return to our lives. Trevaline's disappearance shatters that assumption. It tells us that sometimes people simply vanish, leaving behind only questions. The investigation into Trevaline's disappearance officially remains open. As far as the police are concerned, the case remains active but unsolved. Advances in forensic science offer hope that someday, somehow, evidence might emerge. A body might be found, a witness might finally come forward. The well-dressed man might be identified. But as years turn to decades, those hopes dim. The people who might have known something age and die. Memories fade. Evidence, if it ever existed, degrades. The trail, already cold in 1990, is now frozen, solid. Yet still, people remember. They remember the woman who loved antiques, who opened her dream shop, who chatted with customers on that final morning. They remember the note, "back in 2 minutes," that became her unintended epitaph. They remember the search, the hope, the growing realization that Trevaline was gone. The benches with their mysterious plaques have been removed, but their message lingers. Justice awaits, they said. But justice for what? Justice from whom? Like everything else in this case, the plaques raised more questions than they answered. They suggested knowledge without revealing it, promised resolution without providing it. Perhaps that's the most frustrating aspect of Trevaline's case, the constant sense that someone somewhere knows the truth. The well-dressed man in the shop, the person who placed the plaques, maybe even someone in Llangollen who has kept silent all these years. The truth exists, even if it's buried, even if it's hidden, even if it's locked in someone's conscience. For Trevaline's remaining family and friends, life has had to go on without answers. They've had to find ways to remember her that don't focus solely on her disappearance. They remember her love of antiques, her dedication to her shop, her role as a mother and grandmother. They try to remember the woman, not just the mystery. But the mystery is always there, underlying every memory. Every family gathering has an empty chair. Every story about Trevaline ends with that June day in 1990. Every attempt to move forward is pulled back by the unanswered question, what happened? The case of Trevaline Evans stands as one of Britain's most enduring missing person mysteries. It lacks the sensational elements of some cases. No celebrity connections, no obvious crimes of passion, no clear villains or heroes. Just an ordinary woman in an ordinary town on an ordinary day who became extraordinary by disappearing. In the end, Trevaline Evans's legacy is a question mark. She lives on, not in certainty, but in uncertainty, not in knowledge, but in mystery. Every missing person case is a tragedy, but Trevaline seems especially poignant because it happened in broad daylight, in full view of a community, and still, nobody saw what really happened. The antiques she once sold have found new homes, been passed down through generations, carrying with them a faint connection to the woman who disappeared. The shop where she spent her final morning has been transformed, its current occupants perhaps unaware of its history. The town of Llangollen continues its daily life, welcoming tourists, hosting markets, maintaining the rhythms of small-town Wales. But for those who remember, who still wonder, who still hope, Trevaline Evans is forever frozen in time. A 52-year-old woman stepping out of her shop, promising to return in 2 minutes, walking into a mystery that has lasted over 30 years. Somewhere, the truth waits. Perhaps in an unmarked grave, perhaps in the memory of a witness too afraid to speak, perhaps in evidence not yet discovered. The mysterious plaques suggested someone knows, someone wants the truth revealed. But until that day comes, if it ever does, Trevaline Evans remains Llangollen's greatest mystery, Wales' most puzzling disappearance, a reminder that sometimes people simply vanish, leaving behind only questions, only heartache, only an eternal wait for answers that may never come. The sun still shines on Church Street. Shoppers still bustle through the town centre. Shop owners still put up signs when they step out, but in Llangollen, everyone remembers Trevaline Evans, the woman who said she'd be back in 2 minutes and never returned. Her disappearance changed a community, haunted a family, and created a mystery that endures to this day. As her brother Len Davies once said, "It's always in your mind," and so it remains, over 3 decades later, always in mind, never resolved, forever waiting for those 2 minutes to finally end.